So I'm just gonna blow up, hype up, keep making music, keep fucking bitches, and then like eventually I'm gonna like fuck Demi Lovato, bro. You feel me? Like, there's no way around it, baby.
So I feel like whenever I bring up Comethazine, the common response I get online or in real life is people saying that he's a clone and that he brings nothing new to the game. And to be fair, even though I'm a fan of Comethazine, those complaints are kind of valid. So it seems like when people are talking about Comethazine, they like to compare him to a lot of the other artists that you're going to find on SoundCloud. A lot of people like Tay-K, Lil Pump, Playboi Carti, and Smoke Perp. And his sound pretty much captures that early 2016 SoundCloud rap scene. If you were around for it, you probably know what it sounds like. It's pretty much just a lot of hard-hitting 808s, ignorant lyrics, and really it just feels like a lot of the time he's going in and just spitting stuff off the top of his head, and that's how we get some of the most silly lyrics like sippin' lean like it's milk. The funny thing about this whole thing though is a lot of people are going to say Comethazine is stealing from a lot of these other artists, but the thing about it is a lot of these artists aren't even really using that sound that Comethazine is apparently stealing. A lot of these artists like Lil Pump and Smoke Perp, they've moved on and they don't really use the same sound that got them popular. And the best example of this is probably Lil Pump, whose music feels completely different to what it did in 2016, and his new album Harvard Dropout is probably the best example of that. So why did Harvard Dropout fail to deliver on expectations? Let's find out. So Pump's new album Harvard Dropout feels like a shell of what made Pump good in the first place, and as someone who's a fan of Pump, it kind of hurts me to say that because it feels like executives made this album. It literally feels like a bunch of 40-year-old men got in a room and they said, how are we going to make the max amount of money we can off Lil Pump, and how are we going to make him appeal to as many people as possible, which has really just ruined the sound of the music and has made it sound like a generic mess. It's hard to explain, and I've made a whole nother video discussing this topic about how Lil Pump has changed, but his music no longer seems like what it was back in 2016, and it was never supposed to be this revolutionary music, and it was never supposed to be very deep or anything like that, and it still isn't to this day, but it no longer feels like he's going into the studio and just having fun or just spitting off the top of his head like he was before. Everything just seems so manufactured with Lil Pump that there doesn't seem like there's any authenticity left. Even when you look at things like his Instagram where he's doing these skits and doing these antics, it just all feels so fake. And while Lil Pump was always a persona, his antics never felt this fake and it never felt this pandering, and I think that's why Lil Pump as a whole isn't really as appealing as he was when he was on SoundCloud. Not to mention that a lot of the beats on Harvard Dropout are some of the most generic beats that I've heard in a really long time, and it seems like this whole project's real goal is to just appeal to as many people as possible and to go as mainstream as possible. And when Lil Pump was coming up, he wasn't really mainstream. He wasn't really meant to appeal to the mainstream, but it seems like as soon as the labels got a hold of him, his music sounds a lot different and his overall personality seems to be way more amplified and way more ridiculous to the point where it's just not even really that funny anymore. And this really isn't that surprising. It happens to artists all the time. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that you have listened to artists and you thought, oh, this guy had a lot of really good mixtapes, and when he finally puts out his album, it sounds completely different and it sounds a little bit watered down. And I think that's what's happening with Pump, and I think that's why Comethazine is so interesting right now, because he's been putting out albums and he's really the only one who still has that SoundCloud sound. So is Comethazine what Lil Pump should have been? If I had to answer this question, I would probably say yes. Comethazine may not be the most original and he maybe isn't the best, but he's probably one of the biggest people still carrying around that SoundCloud wave of just really basic songs that are fun. He still carries around that same imagery, especially in his music videos, of just having fun and being more low budget, while you see people like Pump going and getting the biggest budget possible and creating these really high effort, big production team type things. And I think that's why Comethazine is unique, and I think that's why he is succeeding right now. And I think this is something a lot of people are going to continue to criticize Comethazine for, but personally I enjoy the more low effort style because that's kind of the appeal of this kind of music in the first place. I personally would prefer to listen to music on SoundCloud by some random guy than music created by a bunch of label executives in a room who are trying to just milk as much profit out of somebody as possible. But yeah, what do you guys think of Comethazine? Do you think he is what Lil Pump should have been? Let me know down in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys thought of Harvard Dropout and Bosky 2 as well down in the comments down below. Also, I have a beats channel where I upload a lot of the beats that I make. They're like hip-hop beats and a lot of type beats and stuff like that. So if you're interested in any of that, the link is down in the description down below. I would appreciate it if you could go and subscribe there and support your boy. But yeah, that has been all, guys. Thank you. I'm going to be trying to be more consistent on this channel, as it's been just really bad with consistency, I know. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to hit the like button. If you disliked the video for some odd reason, hit the dislike button. And if you're new, how do you subscribe? But yeah, guys, this has been JacobThrowaway, and as always, peace out.